Hello, my gratitude to the Association of Lady Pharmacists of Nigeria National for inviting me to speak on the celebration of the 2021 International Day of the Great Child on the theme Digital Generation Our Generation. I intend to use the following synopsis. Introduction, understanding what digital generation is, where to push on the idea of digital generation, is caution to be standard, summary, and conclusion. As my introduction is to define what digital represents, which is how the analog, which is usually our physical data, is going to be replicated in a perfect manner and that also give room for more manipulation to the features that it's going to bring out. So in another words, the digital means a network of analog that are connected into a virtual community, which are made possible by the availability of computer and microcontroller, or what we generally refer to as chips, which are the digital device. So in other words, for something to be digital, it must have the ability to generate, to collect, analyze, store, and exchange data in real time. The next vital thing to think about in this talk today is what is generation. And generation refers to a group of individuals similar age involved in a particular activity. And that particular activity will be defined about the age range that this will belong to, which usually between 25 to 30 years as a cohort. And because of this, it's easier to recognize generation as either the great grandparents or grandparents, the parents, their children, their grandchildren, or their great grandchildren. This identifies about six generations that one may find in a lifetime, depending on the life expectancy in a particular community. And this has been put in fluidly in the United States of America as traditionist, the baby boomer, the Generation X, who are referred to as the first set of generation that started having access to the computer. Then we have the millennials, who are referred as the Gen Y, and we have the centennial, who are referred as the Gen Z. However, in terms of technology, uh, a generation is defined as a single stage in the development of that particular technology. That's why we have a device that may be categorized as device 2.0, 3.0, which is just to talk about the generation of that device. So coming to back to the what the first aspect of the theme of this year is talking about what digital generation. This essentially refers to the cohort of people that have grown up that have easy access to use communication in an interconnected way on a widely available platform and made possible through computing technology. And in the same way, they have such expertise by exposure in terms of comparing them to the current generation and the, the one before them. So this exposure level give them much more expertise in the ability to understand and communicate in easy way. And and that is why digital generation are understood as the generation that are made possible by the evolving technologies. And in this particular one, in form of the interconnectivities of network and the ability to make microcontrollers, as in the chips that make this possible. And based on this, we have several examples of digital materials because that is what the digital generation fits upon, digital material. And we have them in terms of devices like the mobile phone, we have them in terms of wearable devices like the smartwatch or podometer. We have them in form of software or the apps that help us to share data, to process data, to visualize data. They also exist in terms of social networking applications that allow for massive interaction and the content sharing in real time that we ever have before. This may be in terms of Facebook, Zoom, Instagram, and so on. Well, they can also exist in terms of programs, just like internet online gaming, or for commercial activity like e-commerce or financial purposes. And they may also exist for people to live a life, an artificial life on the internet, which we call the avatar. So the next type of thing that I would like to introduce to us for us to understand what the digital generation entails, which is our generation. The digital generation, which is our generation, is being guided by some of the following concepts we'll be talking. The age of machine learning. And the age of machine learning essentially refers to how machines, in terms of the computer and the microchips in it, were able to know our thoughts, our feelings, who our families are, who our friends are, our current location in the world, the kind of facial pattern that we exhibit or we display at times, and our banking informations at times. So the ability of the machine to be able to know intimately about what is unique to us, what defines us, and can monitor our every account moment to moment is what is being referred to as machine learning. And that is the age that the machine is able to do that. So by the machine having this ability, it can document our hobbies, our interests, our social connection, and all the groups that we belong to. Another thing that's worth knowing in this concept is the era of cyber communication. And this has changed the way we communicate. Before, we communicate using face to face communication, where we meet one another and we talk to one another. But later, it started transforming when we can use the landline, that over a long we can call through several towers, we can communicate with another. But now, we can communicate in real time, and I still have the ability to have the individual respond by. And this has bring other form of communication rather than through the voice and face to face. We can communicate through text. We can talk to one another using images. We can talk on while seeing the other person on the other platform while we talk, and we can also communicate living artificial lives where we create an avatar for oneself, an artificial image of one that lives in an artificial world and interacts and lives there and give us a kind of extension of what we are simulating and generating in our mind. Another very vital thing that is worth knowing about is what we call the generation of the electrified relationship, which is where one of us become all of us. In this sense, it means that when one person reality is synthesized by the individual, and that person reality that become our synthesized reality. And at this point, the understanding or what happened during exercise is a vital thing for us to know. When mass effect, the mass psychology come into play. So it's reality that is synthesized through our digital devices, make us to become the synthesized human being, and this come with serious impacts on behavior for us. And we can also remember what happened during the NSAS crisis. Another thing worth mentioning, also understand, is what the cyber psychic or our cyber man. And this help to bring to us that whatever digital device we're interacting with, at the screen level, we're the one interacting. But beyond the screen of that digital device is the extension of us. And it reflects what our beliefs and personality and lifestyle are. So the digital device is an extension of our own minds, and it's being reflected in the digital. And this is one of the things that make machine to be able to learn who we are and know what our personalities are, what our likes are, what our dislikes are, the attitude we may show, and how those things possible. But for our digital mind to be made available or amenable, it depends on who is the designer of that. And that brings to the next concept, what we call the cyber architect. The cyber architects are the one who design softwares, who design applications, and design in such a way either to be useful for us or for us to be manipulated by it. So based on these two types of digital architects are recognized, what they call the netiquette, who are ethically following the design of digital materials so that it can improve the well-being of the users. But the digital deviants are those who are typically designing or manipulating already designed digital materials for their own sole benefit, bottom line, and not minding the unethical challenges, the unethical problems, and the deviant consequences that will occur to the person that will finally be using these products. So this make us to realize that whatever digital material we interact with is also good to have in the back of our mind. What aim or goal or purpose the architect, the designer hopes to achieve. And how did this designer try to have this? Is what we call the cyber architecture, which is the pattern of designing the digital material. Did they design it for it to make us to be addicted to it, and that way the designer become the digital deviant, or did they design it in such a way to facilitate our ability to use it, which become the cyber architecture? In this case, the architect become the digital network. And how do we measure what the digital architect is doing? Is by looking at the kind of cyber stimuli they generate. The cyber stimuli can be looked at in terms of what they are measuring. That's the digital potencies of the digital material. And in this case, when the digital potency is the one that makes people to become addicted or devoted to it because of the design that has been carried out by the digital deviants, then it becomes an addictive architect. It becomes an addictive cyber architecture. But however, when it is facilitating for us to be able to improve our well-being, when it's facilitating for us to ease our ability to learn and make our usefulness more enhanced, then it become a good stimuli that improves our interaction with one another and trying to solve our day-to-day digital problems and day-to-day real life big issues. And in this situation, we can look at what the Zoom is doing when we compare it to Facebook. And based on this, the potency of the digital stimuli will determine whether it can lead to crime or otherwise. And based on this, it's good just to measure some of the cyber crime that we need to watch out for when we find our words or one or the other interacting with this. This includes exposure to online piracy, identity theft, extortion, stalking, hacking, drug dealing, human trafficking, political extremism, illegal and disturbing pornographic, vigilantism, child sex offenses, digital company exploitation. And it's good that if we realize this so that we can also become digital parents. Because when we become a good digital parent, we'll be able to guide our words to realize the value and the success and the purpose for which we want them to interact with the digital device in order to ease their life. Another content to be able to look at when we are trying to look at digital generation or generation is at the angle which this affects the girl child. And based on this, there are several realities that the digital materials has brought to the door of the girl child. One of those realities is the disparity that the girl child experiences in terms of having access to digital resources. And to this extent, research has shown that the digital disparity keep rising for the girl child compared to the American counterpart from 11% to 70% in 2013 to 2019. On That's in the developing country, but in the low income countries, this the gap is even much wider, which is about 43% between the two gender. Another thing to also look at about is in terms of the education realities that the pandemic has bequeathed to the girl child, and this have shown that about 11 million globally will be out of school, and 20 million to up to 20 million in low and middle income country. And this is further telling us the digital inequalities inequities that the girl child is being exposed to. And because of this, it's telling us that we should do a lot to try to reverse this trend. Another challenge that the girl child will be facing in terms of social inequality from the digital angle is the female gender stereotypes that they are being exposed to, either both in the analog and the digital material, and in the digital spaces in which the girl child is being exposed to. And it's good for us to be able to realize this, because without that, then the cybercrime users that are using it to exploit the girl child, it will be difficult for us to be able to understand how they are carrying out this. Another thing worth appreciating is the what is the interest in digital education pursuit and careership for the girl. As at this point, we should understand that their interest of the girl child is not robust enough, and we need to do more in order to push them so that they can do what this and be able to improve their well-being too. Uh, Another thing is that what kind of the data collected on the girl child, and this is looking in terms of time spent on looking at personal and other information online and the local purchase history, because this is what the social media tries to do, and by doing this, it it gets information that can be used to further exploit the girl child. And based on this, there have been several exploitation capacity that the digital device use, because the digital device can through the algorithm sense the emotional display of the female gender particularly, and this way they measure the anger outbursts, their disgust, and the fear and sadness that they feel. And by using this, it can be used to further get the users engaged in these digital devices. For the more anger they become, the more they engage in it, and the more they learn to show anger, and which will not be helpful for them, and they may ultimately carry out in real life. And based on this, some studies have come to show that the use of Instagram make teenage girls to feel that they are less beautiful because of the artificial beauty enhancing features that they have. That they will think disfiguring themselves on this app so that they can achieve the perfect shape that the Barbie doll bring out, which is the Barbie doll syndrome. And to this, it is very good for us to be able to raise up the girls so that they can be able to appreciate and value whom they are and see the real true beauty in themselves rather than the artificiality that is being projected towards them through the digital media and they might be pursuing. And another thing to also to appreciate is that the platform is being used by predators to lure guests towards human trafficking and into prostitution. So that we should be able to guide the girl child that once they are also interacting and having more access to this, they need to watch out for people who are there waiting to pro on them and be able to exploit them and traffic them and you lure them into prostitution. They need to know that they should also be able to realize that the digital can normalize for them that it is good to become a victim just because they are female, that they should accept violence onto them. And this should be pointed out to them so that they can be parented in such a way that they will not accept this norm. And also, it can also be, it has been used to sow doubt about the enormity of the pandemic threat on us. And we remember when the pandemic of the coronavirus started, it's been talked about in terms of 5G theory. And currently now we have the anti-vaxxers who are saying that it turns people into magnetism, all because people want to get cheap likes online. They feel that they are misleading a lot of people in making major life decisions that may contribute to their well-being, and at times it can lead to an issue of life and death. But all this can be done then. Another thing is the market drugs of abuse to teenagers and pre-teenagers, because this is part of what the predators are using to lure them into it. And on the final note about what are the implications of the girl child is this, that the digital device can be used to manipulate the girl child so that they might end up nurturing the negative personality traits in them rather than enhancing the positive one in them. And in this sense, it makes them to have negative view of themselves. At times they feel overwhelming self-entitlement that be so self-destructive that it makes them to develop what may be referred to as the fixed mindset, because they believe everything will just work out for them rather than for them to have the growth mindset that will help them to realize challenges do come, they need to roll with the challenge, so they need to learn effective ways to overcome it, and they learn not to give up so that they can overcome that. They will not learn that and they will end up with self-entitlement and they get fixed in one place and they will blame everybody for the challenge that they be facing. And another thing that is also there is the concept of narcissism, where they may grow to love only themselves at the peril of themselves and others. And another thing they may call is the hubris that come, that they will see everything that, oh, without them nothing else is possible. And when these two occur, they end up becoming a danger to themselves and to others too. And this kind of thing has brought so many other challenges, like what is being referred as the Kardashian syndrome, that has pushed many girls to think that they can become celebrities without really having any career. And when these two happen, it brings a lot of trouble because they are craving for like buttons. And the like buttons will end up not giving them anything to lean upon. Because before one can become uh, valued in life, one needs to do something valuable. And so one should be able to learn to have career and be able to grow with it. However, the Facebook file is telling us, which is the scandal that's going on with the Facebook now, is that their in-house research has shown so many challenges that is going on, and this has shown that Instagram is toxic for teen girls, and without proper use of Instagram, it will continue to make the girl child down. It's going to make them feel depressed. And apart from Instagram, some of the other social medias will also be found to negatively impact the mental health condition of younger women. And at times, it has the capacity to make them to become devoted or addicted to the use of those apps. And also the way the features of these apps have been done is that it teaches the girl child and other users to become experts in expressing anger, which gets the users more engaged in the use of the app. And that's and that instead of them learning how to control anger, to manage the anger, they end up only expressing, which further exposes them to more danger as time goes on. It also robs the user of the need to plan for a career, and we need to guard against that. And it also serves as a media for medical misinformation, conspiracy theories, and lies. And it can induce digital addiction, which is a gateway to other addiction, and it can often worsen existing mental health challenges for the girl. And this should be priority policy area that we can force some digital company to make and to thereby choose money, thereby not to choose money over the safety of the people that are engaged in their use of this thing. So what should be where to push for the Association of Ladies Pharmacists? Specifically, there are two things they can do. Generally, they can push the use of digital material for the girl child should be for them to learn these skills so that they can use it to solve big mistakes in life, which includes why do we kill ourselves and why do we destroy ourselves, our lives. Killing ourselves in time of what? Suicide. And why do should the girl child commit suicide? Because of some of the challenges we have pointed about mental issues that may come, and because of that they may think so. When the girl child is getting engaged, it should learn that they can use this to solve that. And why should we destroy our life is because digital device can also promote intimate partner violence. And by learning and using digital, they should learn not to make themselves victims, but learn to liberate themselves from such inequities that is being bequeathed to them. Specific things that can be done is well to end gender disparity in ethical access to digital material, to end gender stereotypes in the digital space and having access to the digital material, to reduce video game time to less than 1 hour per day for the girl child and all child generally during the week and before 8 p.m. on weekends so that they can have good sleep every day of their life and on weekends too. And this is also old for them during holidays, especially for anyone that is less than 18 years old. And also to limit the use of social media time. E.g., in China, the government has limited the use of TikTok to 40 minutes per day for teens who are less than 14 years old. And to ban chaotic fan culture, which is rampant in China and it's also going around in every part of the world. And we need to watch out for that so that our girl child will not be easily manipulated to go and carry out deviant behaviors. And we also try to make producer and provider of digital material accountable for the deliberate use of the digital product for deviant purposes. So we should make them accountable for the wrong they have done by creating apps that is harming the girl child. And we should compare the digital top company to mount filters that control activities of young person online. We should also be teaching the child care to become digital literate and pursue reward mentality such as digital gratification. And we should learn to legislate against cybercrime and enforcing such legislation. We should learn to stop digital companies from monopoly placed on repair of their products. A silent caution is that we should increase on digital awareness on digital addiction. And this is essentially showing that if somebody is in this digital age, and we show that digital addiction settings that to watch out for the following: that if somebody wake up and he has to check his phone before saying good morning to his partner, then you should know he's already having some level of digital addiction, and he's already modeling also for the girl child what it means, or what they how they can become a digital addict. And when somebody can't do without the phone in a day, then that's also a telltale sign. And when one's mood is changed because of digital absence or presence, then that is also a challenge. And when one's memory will be affected because of the presence or absence of digital device, that brings more trouble. And complications that it may bring into the person's life because of the presence or absence of digital material, that brings more challenges to one. But in overall, for somebody who's having digital addiction, it is telling us that it's it's going to be causing problem for the person in his day-to-day life, and the person cannot stop using it even if they feel like it is uncomfortable with the use of those digital material. And those things may occur by experiencing that when they forget or misplace the smartphone. And these are obvious parallel with drug use addiction. In summary and conclusion, the digital generation peculiarity is a reality for us all. The girl child is doubly disadvantaged in the opportunity to utilize digital materials, and it may particularly targeted for exploitation by the digital architects and users. So we must struggle to revise the deviant design of digital devices that prioritizes profit over awareness. We must channel the digital education of the girl child to one that should solve humanity's big problem. We must strive to provide therapy to those currently experiencing mental health challenges from their engagement with digital material. In conclusion, we must prioritize digital materials that are humanized and that promotes well-being and flourishing. My gratitude goes to God Almighty for giving me the opportunity to deliver this, and to the chairperson of this event, and to the chief host of this event, who is the president of the Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, and to the host who I'm benefiting from their inviting me to talk on this game, who is the president of the Association of Lady Pharmacists, the other co-presenter, are all the members of the Association of Lady Pharmacists, and all present and well wishers. Thank you. I'm very grateful for your attention.